Hey guys, and welcome. So today I'm going to walk you through how to make an old-fashioned evergreen Christmas wreath. So I'm so excited that you can join me to do this live. My name, for those of you who don't know or who are new, I want to welcome you. So this is a live broadcast that is also the Pioneering Today podcast, and my name is Melissa K. Norris. And I am the author of the Made From Scratch Life, the website melissaknorris.com, inspiring your faith in pioneer roots, and of course the popular Pioneering Today podcast. So we do everything old-fashioned and from scratch, do-it-yourself type stuff like the pioneers did, but in a modern world. So we are doing our homemade Christmas series, and one of the things that we like to do is obviously homemade Christmas, and we like to make things at home when we can from supplies that we've already got. So I'm going to be walking you through how to make a homemade wreath with your evergreen boughs that I went and harvested just off of our homestead this morning, and to give you some tips if you don't have evergreens or some other ways that you could do that. So one of the things that you want to do when you are first picking your evergreen boughs is you want to pick an evergreen bough or tree type that is not going to lose its needles right away. So cedar is a great choice. Pine, fir. One of the types that you don't want to use is hemlock. And the reason for that is because hemlock, it's really pretty. It's quite lacy. This is cedar, and I like the way that it drapes. But with hemlock, once it's off of the tree and cut, it tends to dry out quite a bit faster than your other types of evergreens. So that's why I say don't use hemlock. It is really pretty, but it's going to drop its needles really quickly, and nobody wants that one if it's going to be in your house. And that's the same if you're picking out a evergreen Christmas tree. Don't go with the hemlock. They drop needles super fast. So we want this to last a long time. And I usually make mine before Thanksgiving because I like to have it up. And this is the cedar, and this will last clear into January. Now, it will depend upon your weather. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. We're predominantly cooler and usually have quite a bit of moisture with the rain and stuff in the air, and this hangs outside. Now, inside it will dry out much, much faster. So the good news is you can put this up and you can make it last clear the way. Sometimes it's been honestly like February before I've taken it off of the door. And you can swap out your decorations. So you can make this for a fall if you want to do it, have it up for Thanksgiving to greet guests, or you can just move it right to Christmas. Then you can put it into a winter scape. So you've got lots of options. First things first. You're going to need a form of some kind. This is just a wire green wreath form, and then we've got floral wire. And this one, you can get them, and I will provide links for you. You can get them on Amazon for $3. I found the wreath forms, and then the floral wire. This is the same wreath form and floral wire that came. I got a wreath gifted to me as a gift that was a live Christmas evergreen wreath. And then when I took it all off, I just saved the wreath form. So anything that's circular, if you don't want to go and purchase it, because us pioneers are about not having to purchase it if we don't have to, you could try bending a metal coat hanger. You could try bending that in a circle. It's going to need to be a heavy gauge wire coat hanger though in order to hold everything. So that's an option. If you've got like a grapevine wreath, you could try doing that. So look around and see if you've got some supplies at home that you could make a base circular wreath form for first. If not, then like I said, it's like $3. I've been using this one for about 4 years and the exact same wire. Never even took it off. And then another thing that you could do if you don't have a wreath form and you want to do it, and I will show you that first, this is a little bonus one, is you could just make an evergreen swag. So what you could do is you can get all of your evergreen boughs together, tie them together at the top, and then you would trim this part off, and then you would decorate it with a big bow, and you can do cascading ornaments or whatever you want to add to it. So that's a tip if you just want to do an evergreen swag for your front door instead of a wreath. But I really do like wreaths, so we're going to get to wreath making here. So I go out and actually, this is great because I needed to prune some of these trees back because they were starting to grow into our driveway. So I did a little bit of pruning this morning. This is a cedar, and it's also got the little pine cones on there. So I looked for branches that weren't too thick so that I could bend them, and that also had some natural adornment already on them, and that is in the pine cones. So first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take our layer. Now, if you can find some boughs when you're trimming them and cutting them that are naturally, see this is bending a little bit, it's kind of swooping, you're going to match that up to the curve of your wreath form in the circle that you're going. Get down on the form, and up here is where I've already got the wire attached to the base of the form, so you just wrap it around and secure it so that you've got a good secure holding spot. And we're just going to come and I'm going to wrap it and secure it right here where the first branches start. Bring it back through the center, and I'm going to put it just through this first loop. And a lot of times what I'll do is, here's our first branch, and so I will loop the wire actually underneath it. So as it's hanging, it kind of holds this Y here, and it catches the wire and creates a holding spot for it. It's going to bring this back through so that you've created a loop. And because I've used this wire multiple times, it's got lots of bends in it. If you're using new wire, it's a lot smoother and it doesn't get caught. So here we've got that secured to our first base. I secure it up at the top here of this, and then I bring it to another spot, and I make a couple of different wraps, but I like it to hang out so it makes the wreath look a lot bigger and that I've got a lot of stuff hanging off of it. And you can use different kinds of trees. Now, if you don't live in an area that's got a lot of evergreens, or you don't have any evergreens growing on your property, we're really blessed here in the Northwest. They kind of grow everywhere. Some options are you could check with a nursery, and then you can also go if they're starting to crop up, which this might be a little bit early in the year, but if you go to Christmas tree farms or Christmas tree lots, a lot of times they need to trim the trees up to make them look pretty, and they've got extra evergreen boughs. So you could check there and see if you can get some from them, if you could possibly get them for free, or if you have to purchase them, it still is going to be cheaper, because these wreaths in the store, like we start to see them here come out, they can be upwards of $30 to $60, you guys, for a big evergreen wreath. And I don't know about you, but I think they're gorgeous, but I'm not going to pay that much for a wreath. So then after I've got part is secured down, we're going to pick our next branch here. What you do is you could take a grapevine wreath, and you can use some burlap ribbon and pick what natural elements you've got already growing around you or in your area of the country. Something that looks pretty and that's going to be able to stay cut and dried for a while, and see if you can't make a wreath out of them. It doesn't necessarily have to be evergreen boughs, though that is kind of, traditional for Christmas. So next up, when you pick your next branch, go up underneath so that my wire will be a little bit hidden by this fluffy part on the end. So I will put that one there, and then we'll wrap the wire to secure both pieces of it. And this part, because I'm doing it live, takes a little bit longer. And another thing too, if you live and you've got neighbors that have trees, they might let you take some branches too, but of course always ask. We don't ever want to go and poach, so to speak, evergreens off of somebody's property. So I just kind of keep going in this fashion. I just keep tucking it under, and we just keep wrapping them in. And then once I've got the base down, then I'll kind of look and see if I've got some holes where I need to fill in, and then I'll tuck smaller pieces up and around the top. Another thing that you can do if you've got like willows or grapevines or any kind of viney tree or bush, and it's still in its green state, which if it's alive right now, it is, you can trim those, and then you can form a wreath out of those and let them dry. So you just tie it into the form that you want it to stay when it's dry and let it dry out. It usually takes at least 3 to 4 weeks, and then you can use that as a base for a wreath as well. So you could do that with like willow branches, grapevines, those type of trees. So you can make those at home too. So now let's see, I want to find a little bit smaller guy. He's going to go in here. And we got to tuck that up under. And for the wire, you're going to want to use a fairly thinner gauge of the green wire so that it's easy to wrap and to pull everything through. So it's really about just finding what you've got already available to you that you could use, and then putting that to work on your wreath. So now I kind of go through and I take these outside boughs, and my wire is getting a little bit tangled up here. And we're just going to bring those in a little bit closer on our wire form here. And I do like to leave a couple out as cascading, but not too many, because when people are trying to come in my door, I want them to be able to get in and for the door to be able to shut firmly. So this is going to be the base of the wreath. And so I'm going to add a couple more pieces in here and tie that up a little bit. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to show you how to use some other elements, so that if you want to, now you could hot glue onto this, of course, any kind of embellishments that you already have at your house. But one of the things that I like to do that is totally pioneer and old-fashioned is look in your yard And if you don't have the yard, if you've got some woods, depending on where you live, that you could go and forage some things, take a little nature walk and look at some contrasting different colors of foliage and things that would work. So in one of my planters right in front of my door, I've got a lemon cypress tree, but this is a really fun bright yellow green. So this is going to make a great natural contrast when it's on here. So I picked some of these sprigs because I'm going to put those on. And then one of the other things that I have is I've got what they're called a burning bush, and they've already lost all of their bright, pretty red leaves, but they left behind these great little red berries. So I went and snipped, and the great thing is, you guys, is I needed to prune all of this stuff back anyway, so I went ahead and did my pruning this morning, and then I took the remaining things, and I'm going to put these on as well. So go ahead and look, if you've got like twisted willow, anything that's really kind of different and cool. And it doesn't have to be, evergreen. It could be something that's got berries on it. Of course, if they're, poisonous berries, you might not want to put them on if they, fall off in the house or whatever. So use caution there. But try to find some different things. If you've got moss, different kinds of moss, anything like that you've naturally got going on around you, natural elements, try and incorporate those in because they're going to look really pretty, obviously. And then my wreath is going to be outside. I don't have a covered porch, and so it's going to be exposed to the elements. So I need to make sure that whatever I put on here, obviously, I don't care if it gets ruined or, if it's out in the rain for 2 to 3 months, that it's going to be okay. So that's why I like to use these, because I know that they're going to just be fine, and I don't have to worry about water damage, obviously, because they're a live plant. So what I like to do is, now it's going to depend. Some of you might like to put a bow on, and if you like to put a bow on, some people like to put them in the very center where the bow hangs at the top. I always like to offset mine. So I'm actually going to create a place for the bow, and I'm going to do it right in here where I don't have quite as much green foliage, and I'm going to create a centerpiece, essentially, a center spot for the bow with it being offset. So what I like to do is kind of frame where the bow is going to go. So I take kind of the bushiest pieces that I've got of this, and I'm going to make an area right here, and then the bow will go right in the center. So I'm going to lay that there. And so now that I've kind of got my base, I'm going to go through and kind of lay it out. Now the rule of thumb, it's something with the eye when you're decorating, and this is true if you're putting something on a counter or decorating anything, is you want to use odd numbers. When we're looking at something, the way that we look, our eye is looking for a place to land, to rest when we're looking at things. Kind of weird, huh? So if you do it in odd numbers, it can find a focal point and it looks better. So even when I'm grouping these things, I try to make the big base, and then I try to do a few other areas throughout here, and I'm going to do 3. So I'm going to do the big one here, then I'm just going to make kind of some little mini focal area points, so that there's 3 total. Now, if you've got a larger wreath or you want to do it further, you could do 5, but odd numbers work the best. So that's how you're going to get a really pretty visual wreath. Or if you're setting decorations out, it's kind of why the rule of thumb, we always use odd numbers. So I've got some extra ones. The great thing too is after you've got your evergreen boughs wired in, you can tuck these in and all of the needles will stick together, and you don't really have to hot glue them in. They just kind of stay put where you got them. So I love that because then I don't have to use glue or electricity. It's much more pioneer style, right? We're going to have some fun with these. I love these. So you can get picks, of course, too. You could go to, craft store, Michael's, Joann's, whatever you got happening in your town where you live. And you could get the fake picks that you could reuse every year as well. But if you have available some natural elements, those are really fun to use. Another fun thing too is you can also get like a canning jar if you've got extra of these little twigs and embellishments, and you could just create in a canning jar a pretty little centerpiece using these natural elements as well. That's really Christmassy. And what I like to do is write the date, like Christmas Eve, especially if we're having festivities at our house. We have a wood stove, so if I have live evergreen or live Christmas tree boughs in our house, it dries out pretty quick. So I like to just pick and bring in a couple days before so that the house smells really Christmassy and stuff, and just do some little, and you can just do it small and put it in a vase with a few embellishments and make some little centerpieces that include the evergreen boughs, and then you get that scent and it's pretty and visual, but you don't have to worry about it getting dried out and being a fire hazard, which is what we worry about with the Christmas stuff. So now that I've kind of got these placed around here, then I'm going to go, and that's why I saved some length of this wire, and I'm just going to wire over top of them just to give them a little bit extra security and to bring in a few more to make it a little bit more wreath form here of these boughs. So then I can wrap this around them. I have my Pioneering Today Homemade Christmas ebook. So it's got our favorite from scratch recipes like great grandma used to make, more decorating, including decorating ideas with mason jars, because holler, I love my mason jars. You guys know that. Our favorite recipes, all kinds of different homemade gift ideas for free. So that is my Christmas gift to you. So you can get that. You can go to melissaknorris.com/homemade-christmas and get yourself that copy. And if you're on my email list, I will just be emailing you a link to grab that too. And you totally want to be on my email list. And so when you grab your copy, that will put you on there. Because I send out lots of good, fun things to my email readers, because y'all my friends. Here we go, guys. Check that out. But I do want to put a bow on here. And one of the things that I love, burlap. I love burlap. And this little ornament here, it can hang on a doorway, it can hang on your tree, anywhere you want. But I'm going to use this as my bow. You can probably hear the jingle bell going there. Got a jingle bell on it. This is going to be my bow for the wreath. And I actually share in that ebook how to make this ornament. It's super easy. What you do is you just take a length of burlap ribbon and then take some thread on a needle, and you just, through the center fairly wide, you're gonna thread it through, and then you're gonna pull it up to gather it, and then you're just gonna tie it in a circle. And then you just kind of manipulate the burlap a little bit, and then you put whatever embellishments you want on there. If you wanted it really rustic, you don't even have to put a bow or a jingle bell on there. You could just leave it in its rustic form. But I think that this is gonna be super cute to put it in the middle. Another thing, jute twine. I use this stuff for everything, you guys, from tying up the raspberry vines when I'm pruning them, decorating, everything. In fact, I've got a jute twine ornament in that free ebook as well that you can make that's super cute and super fun. I should have pulled it out this morning, but I didn't actually go in and get all of my Christmas stuff out. So this now will go on my front door. How super fun and cute is that? And of course, you could do any kind of, embellishments you wanted. If you have some live, different branches, like if you wanted to do silver, like if you get some Douglas fir, some of the silver tipped white firs, you can make it any kind of color you want. Like I said, I really do love, I love the drapiness of the cedar. And I may decide to put a few more in there to make this a little bit fuller. I'm going to put it on the door and see how cumbersome it is. If you get it too big, we use the door behind me to go in and out predominantly a lot. So if it's too big, it tends to get caught on things when I'm carrying things in the house. But that, you guys, is just how you make your own old-fashioned wreath. And of course, if you've got pine cones, this one has little tiny pine cones already on there. I love that visual element. But you could go and gather really big pine cones if you live in an area, or you can get those at the craft store. You could tip the ends of those with a little bit of white paint if you wanted to make it look snowy. So you could completely just do this as a rustic wreath without putting, those kind of embellishments. You could just do it all in kind of a winter rustic motif if you wanted. There's so many different things you could do with it. And if you wanted to keep it Thanksgiving, you could put some different leaves and acorns, nuts, those kind of things. Any way that you want to do it, you can pretty it up. But I really do like that I was able to use, with the exception here of the bow, of course, all of these were just elements that were growing in my yard and I needed to prune them anyway, so it worked out perfect. So I'm going to hang this on my door, and you are going to go and get your copy of the Pioneering Today Homemade Christmas. So go and grab that, and I will be back on here with you guys next Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time for our next episode of Homemade Christmas Ideas. And we will be doing some more fun homemade Christmas crafts and, of course, gifts to give to yourself or to someone else, or a little bit of both. So thank you guys so much for joining me.